This is Camper Liam. He's Brock's one and only gym trainer. I want to see if it's possible for me to beat Brock with just Pokemon used by Camper Liam. In fact, I want to see if it's possible for me to beat every gym leader with just Pokemon used by their own gym trainers. I'm going to need a couple of rules though. I have a level cap, I need to match the number of Pokemon the gym leader brings, I can't evolve the trainer's Pokemon, no items in battle, and I need to play in set mode. So the first gym leader I have to face is Brock, and I'm not given any choices here. The only trainer with usable Pokemon was Camper Liam, who has a Geodude and a Sandshrew, so I guess that's my team. Their movesets are pretty limited, but so is Brock's, so I'm not super worried. The strategy here isn't too complicated. Both of us lead with the Geodude, so it's just a matter of spamming Rock Throw until Brock's Geodude faints. Once Onix comes out, I switch to Sandshrew and use Sand Attack to lower its accuracy to -6, then just use Scratch until Sandshrew faints. From there, Geodude comes back in to finish the job with a few more Rock Throws, and just like that, I earn the Boulder Badge. Next, it's time to face Misty in the Cerulean City Gym. Misty has a team of 2 Pokemon as well, but this time I have 3 Pokemon that I can choose from. Horsea, Shelder, and Goldeen. This battle is tough because both of Misty's Pokemon know Recover, making it really hard to deal consistent damage. On top of that, Starmie is just way stronger than anything I have available to me. My initial thought was to bring Horsea for Smokescreen Cheese, but Horsea really can't do any damage, and Starmie has Swift, so it just bypasses the accuracy drops. I decided my only chance was Goldeen for Horn Attack damage and Supersonic, while Shelder can use Supersonic as well, but even then I'm gonna have to get really lucky with the confusion hits. Misty leads with her Staryu, and I go for Supersonic right away since I need Goldeen to take as little damage as possible. I missed the first one, but luckily I land the second, and then there's a few turns where Staryu hits itself and then continues to harden. I get Staryu down to low HP, but Misty uses a Super Potion and gets Staryu back to full. At this point, I kind of assume that the attempt is dead, but surprisingly Goldeen hits a crit on the next Horn Attack and one-shot Staryu, saving the run. Starmie then comes in and hits me with a Swift as I Supersonic it. Starmie hits itself as I Tail Whip it twice, but then Starmie hits a crit Water Pulse, annihilating Goldeen. Shelter comes in with a Supersonic, and thankfully Starmie hits itself as I tackle it. Starmie breaks through Confusion the next turn and brings Shelter down to 7 HP, and my tackle doesn't knock it out. I had pretty much given up hope for this attempt, but luckily Starmie stayed confused for a 3rd turn and then KO'd itself. I was honestly ready to be sitting here for a while waiting for the perfect attempt, but I got it right away, so thankfully I won't be spending my day Supersonic gambling. I make my way to Vermilion City where I challenge Surge. Once again, I'm left with no choices for Pokemon I can use, as the only unique evolutionary lines the trainers use are Pikachu, Magnemite, and Voltorb. I'm kinda just now realizing that this video idea is f***ing stupid. I mean, like, there's no skill. Magnemite and Voltorb are going to be extremely good in this gym thanks to Sonic Boom, which always does 20 HP to the opposing Pokemon. This is going to be pretty much my only reliable form of damage. Surge leads with his own Voltorb, and I send out Pikachu. After a couple slams, the Voltorb goes down, and Surge sends in his Pikachu. This thing was absolutely horrible and just spammed double team, but eventually Voltorb was able to take it out with Sonic Boom. He sent in his ace Raichu, and a few Sonic Booms later, Raichu faints and Surge is defeated without even having to send out Magnemite, making her an easy badge. After a little break, I make my way to Erika. In this gym, we actually, believe it or not, have a choice of Pokemon for our team again. Our choices are Weepinbell, Gloom, Ivysaur, and Execute. I can only bring 3 of these, so one of the Pokemon will have to be left out. This gym is pretty difficult as Erika has 2 fully evolved Pokemon, Victreebel and Vileplume, both of which know Acid for good damage on the Grass-type Pokemon I have available, as well as Giga Drain for some recovery. Because of this, I decide my team is going to be Execute, Gloom, and Weepinbell. I left out Ivysaur since it doesn't get any Poison-type damaging moves, making it pretty much useless for this battle. Execute is going to be really good because it has access to Confusion that can hit both of Erika's poison types for super effective damage. Erika starts the battle with her Victreebel and I send in Execute. This thing is an absolute champion and does half HP to Victreebel as well as confusing it. Victreebel then hits itself and Execute finishes it off. Erika sends in Vileplume and after a bit of damage heals the Vileplume back to full. Execute is about to faint, so I use Reflect on its final turn since Acid is physical in Generation 3. I send in Weepinbell who paralyzes the Vileplume and does a bit of damage with Wrap and Acid before fainting. Finally, I send in Gloom who eventually knocks out the Vileplume. Erika sends in her final Pokemon, Tangela, and yeah, it just gets destroyed. Easy badge. So yeah, Koga is probably the easiest gym in this entire challenge. For some reason, 3 out of the 4 available Pokemon in the gym are super effective on poison types, Hypno, Kadabra, and Sandslash, and only one of the Pokemon is actually a poison type, Arbok. So basically, I'm fighting the poison type gym leader with poison type counters. For Sabrina, my only choices are Slowbro, Haunter, Mr. Mime, and Kadabra. This one genuinely seems really difficult to me at first glance because of her Alakazam with Calm Mind, and I honestly don't immediately see a way around it. On top of that, unfortunately my level cap is 43 and Haunter doesn't learn Shadow Ball until level 45. Sabrina leads with her own Kadabra and I lead with my Haunter. Haunter instantly one-shots the Kadabra with Shadow Punch and does the same to her Mr. Mime. Her Alakazam comes in next and to my surprise it uses Future Sight instead of Psychic. Shadow Punch brings the Alakazam to low HP and Sabrina heals before a high roll Shadow Punch knocks out the Alakazam on the next turn. Surprisingly, Future Sight didn't knock out the Haunter. I didn't know this, but in Generation 3, Future Sight is actually a typeless 80 base power move compared to the modern Psychic type 120 base power move. This allows Haunter to stay in and land some more Shadow Punches before swapping into Kadabra to finish off her Venom off. For what I anticipated to be one of the hardest gyms of the challenge, it was arguably one of the easiest, besides, you know... For the battle against Blaine, my options for Pokemon are Growlithe, Ninetales, Rapidash, and Charmander, all of which will be coming to the battle. Unfortunately, the trainer hasn't evolved the Charmander for some reason, so that's what I'll have to be using. Thankfully though, 3 of the 4 Pokemon have the ability Flash Fire, making Blaine's options to hit me pretty limited. The battle starts with Blaine sending out his Growlithe as I send out Charmander. One upside of having Charmander instead of Charizard here is that Charmander gets access to Dragon Range before Charizard does. This lets me KO the Growlithe and do just under half to the Ponyta before going down. I send in my own Growlithe and knock out the Ponyta where Blaine sends in his Rapidash. Growlithe does good damage to the Rapidash before unfortunately getting flinched and going down. I send in Ninetales who brings Rapidash to low HP, but Blaine heals to full, paralyzes Ninetales, and knocks it out. This is pretty bad, since I'm down to my last Pokemon, a physical attacker, and Blaine still has his Intimidate Arcanine left, meaning I'll be at -1 attack for the rest of the battle. My Rapidash knocks out Blaine's, and in comes the Intimidate Arcanine. I Fire Spin it on the first turn for some residual damage, but Blaine's takedown does so much damage to my Rapidash. At this point, I'm ready to go for an attempt 2, but Rapidash flinches with Stomp again, and then crits the Arcanine, knocking it out. If my math is correct, this comes out to a 0.5% chance of happening and pretty much entirely clutching the battle. The final gym leader is Giovanni, and for the first time, we actually have a wide cast of Pokemon to choose from. Giovanni has 5 Pokemon on his team, and there are 10 available Pokemon to choose from. The choices are Arbok, Tauros, Machoke, Sandslash, Rhyhorn, Nidoking, Graveler, Onix, Marowak, and Nidoqueen. Out of these Pokemon, the 5 I decide to go with are Machoke, Marowak, Nidoking, Tauros, and Graveler. I tried to go with the best combination of offense and not getting destroyed by Giovanni's Earthquake. The battle starts with Giovanni sending out his Rhyhorn, in which I lead with Machoke. I use Vital Throw on the first turn to bait out one of Giovanni's Hyper Potions before low-kicking it to Oko. The Doug Trio comes in and I send out Tauros to intimidate it and KO it with Thrash. He then sends out Nidoqueen, and after a few Thrashes, Tauros knocks it out too. I get some Thrashes off on the Nidoking before going down, in which I send out Marowak to finish Nidoking off. At this point, naturally, I determine the most reasonable thing to do is toy with the region's most dangerous criminal. I do what any normal person would do and send out, boom, the Graveler. I wonder what exactly this Graveler is gonna do. And just like that, we have 8 badges. So for the Elite Four and Champion, there's no trainers in the chambers, so I'm going to allow myself to choose Pokemon that were on the Gym Leaders teams, as well as allowing myself to use their TMs that they gifted. The team I decided to construct for the Elite Four is Alakazam, Raichu, Starmie, Arcanine, Rhyhorn, and Geodude. I chose this team for a mix of coverage and strategy. The first Elite Four member, Lorelei, leads with Dugong, and I send out Raichu. Her first 3 Pokemon are as simple as clicking Thunderbolt, but when her Lapras comes in, she actually froze the Raichu and knocked it out. I sent out Alakazam to finish off the Lapras, and Arcanine knocked out Jinx with a Fire Blast. For Bruno, I led with Starmie. Starmie took care of both of Bruno's Onix, and Alakazam took care of Hitmonchan, Hitmonlee, and Machamp for an easy battle. Agatha was even easier. I led with Alakazam, and 5 Psychics later, she was defeated. Lance was a bit harder, but I had a trick up my sleeve. He led with Gyarados, and Raichu took it out with a Thunderbolt. He sent in both his Dragonairs, which Alakazam swiftly took care of because this thing is just broken, like I don't even know. Unfortunately though, Alakazam got paralyzed, allowing Dragonite to outspeed it and OHKO it. Not to worry though, because Boom 2 the Geodude is here. And he boomed, absolutely decimating Lance's strongest Pokemon. Lance's final Pokemon, Aerodactyl, was then taken care of with a combination of Raichu and Starmie, taking us to the Champions room. The final battle against our rival started off very well. Raichu was able to take out Pidgeot without taking any damage. He sent out Rhydon to counter Raichu, but our Starmie one-shot it with Water Pulse. Gyarados comes in and gets absolutely destroyed by Raichu, but then Blue's own Alakazam comes in. I honestly didn't have any counter to this on the team, so I decided the best bet was to just 1v1 it with my own Alakazam. It works out, but Alakazam is super weak afterwards, so I let the incoming Exeggutor finish it off so I can get a clean switch into Arcanine. Arcanine absolutely obliterates the Exeggutor with a Fire Blast. Blue's final Pokemon comes in, Charizard, so I send out my ace to finish the job, Geodude. Geodude explodes, and just like that, yeah, I don't know, I guess it's still just a Geodude. Yeah, so Starmie comes in and Water Pulses the Charizard, and that's game. So yes, you absolutely can beat Fire Red with Pokemon only the gym trainers use. Thanks for watching, and if you agree that this idea was in fact stupid, then make sure to like and subscribe.